$3 grand for a Juno-60? Is it worth it? Hi, this is Marr from Alamo Music here in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us at alamomusic.com. Today we're going to be looking at the Juno-60 and asking, is it worth it? With vintage prices going up to, if you look today on Reverb, last time I checked it was about $3 grand. You know, a couple years ago you could find them for $1,500. With them going up that much, are these good purchases? So we're going to be asking that question. We're also going to be looking at what are some alternatives? So even if it is worth it, what are a few alternatives if you don't have $3 grand to shell out for a Juno-60 and you want that sound? What are some other options? So I have the JU-06A here from Roland and the Behringer Deep Mind 12, and we're going to be looking at how those compare, what you're getting, what's like it, what isn't like it, and we're going to be examining all of those things. So first, let's go into the Juno-60, the classic Roland Juno, what made the name famous, really. I would say the Juno-60 and the Juno-6, which it came out shortly before, really are what define the name Juno. And when people think of a Juno, they think of the 60. The 106, but really the one that's more sought after currently is the Juno-60. It's got, the prices are higher, people like it better for whatever reason. I say better qualified because there are people that like the 106 better, but why is it so desired? Why do people like it so much? And what's magical about it? So let's go into the Juno-60 itself and look at a little bit what's going on with this vintage synth. So this came out in the early 1980s after the Juno-6, and what was interesting about it is it used a DCO instead of a VCO. And the DCO is a digitally controlled oscillator versus a voltage controlled oscillator. And the difference there is the DCOs are a lot easier for manufacturers to make the instrument hold tuning better than a VCO. VCOs are harder to control the tuning. So that was kind of the big change, going from some of the Jupiter, like the Jupiter 8 was a VCO, and this DCO really, this technology really changed the analog synth world, making them closer, moving them ultimately to completely digital units. But this was one of the steps between completely analog to completely digital. The digitally controlled oscillators was a really big deal, and it's a very simple architecture. It's got the DCO and it's got two waveforms, and it's got a sub oscillator for getting a bassy sound, and it's got one LFO, and it's got a high pass and a low pass filter, and a basic envelope. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to turn the Arpeggiator on, which is again that's a legendary part of the Juno-60, is its Arpeggiator that was built in. It's so much fun. It's not super complicated, but it works so well, and it's really, it's just part of the magic of the Juno-60, in my opinion. So I'm going to turn on the Arpeggiator and turn on the hold function, which allows you to just play notes, and it's just going to hold it without me having to hold my hand down. And then I'll go through and move some of these around so you can hear the different types of sounds that the Juno-60 makes. Also, I'm going to turn off and on the choruses, which are also a legendary part of the Juno-60. The chorus function in the Juno-60, which is really interesting if you read about how that analog chorus effect is achieved inside the synth. It's super interesting. I'd recommend going online and reading about it if you're interested. It's very cool. So I'm going to turn that off and on. That's really part of the magic as well. So let me do that so you can kind of hear, and I'm going to move the knobs around and so you can get a sense of what the Juno-60 is capable of. So I'm just going to do a basic, turn the Arpeggiator on, put the hold on, do a basic. So you kind of get a sense of some of the possibilities here. It's really, really fun to play with, and I mean, just turning the arpeggiator and hitting the hold button and playing with these basic controls is really, I could sit here for hours and do it, and you get really interesting patterns, and you can use it as a kind of compositional tool to really layer all sorts of other synths on top of a basic arpeggiation pattern. I think it's a lot of fun. As you could tell as I was going through, there's an LFO trigger down here, so you can kind of turn it off and on, and then have the VCF controlled by the bender, which it allows for a lot of kind of expressive change to the patterns that you're playing. So a lot of fun. I think part of the magic of the Juno-60 is its simplicity and the fact that there are a limited amount of things that you can change. To me, that's part of its magic. It's not overwhelming like some other vintage analog synths. There's just knobs and sliders everywhere, and there's multiple oscillators and multiple LFOs and multiple filters and envelopes, and that can get really overwhelming if you don't know what you're doing. So I think part of the magic of a Juno-60 is its simplicity and its accessibility. So I think it's a great way to learn synthesis on a Juno-60, and I think that some of even the recreations do a good job in recreating that feeling. So even if you're not going to buy a $3,000 vintage analog synth, buying one of the clones or one of the kind of emulations is a great way to learn synthesis. This exact layout is really helpful to teach you. So you can see where the Deep Mind 12 and the JU-06A really were inspired by the Juno-60. Kind of hear where they do a good job of emulating it and where potentially they fall short. There are other videos on YouTube that go deep into comparisons between these, and I think they're worth watching if you're interested in getting a deeper dive. We didn't do like a sound on sound comparison here. Really interesting topic. I highly recommend watching it if you have time. Also, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this video and on this subject. So please leave a comment below. You can email us at yourfriends@alamomusic.com or chat with us on our website. Always love to talk to people about synths. So this is going to be a series that we do, and so we're going to be looking at other vintage synths and asking the question, is it worth it? So hopefully you'll be seeing more of these. Stick with us, hit subscribe, and you'll get notifications as they come out. If there's any ones you want to see in particular, let us know and we can kind of prioritize those up front. But we're super excited about doing this Is It Worth It series because I think it's a really interesting question for today. Again, thank you for watching and look forward to hearing from you. Talk to you later.